Liz Cheney is looking at this political reality of, increasingly it's looking like this is going to be a blowout election. I mean, just look at the early polling numbers. Early voting started yesterday, or last Friday, rather, in several states, I believe in 3 states. And my recollection, fact check me on this, I'm doing this from memory, but because this is what I saw on TV on Friday, was they were reporting for Virginia, I believe, and they said that the early voting was 3 times what it was 4 years ago at this point. So that suggests it's going to be a major, blowout election. And so, which raises the question, if Trump loses big, if Trump goes down the way Barry Goldwater went down in 1964, is that going to be the end of the Trump MAGA faction of the Republican Party? Or will they be able to hang on and control the Republican Party? Keep in mind, the co-chair of the RNC right now is Laura Trump, is Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. So, he's got his people in the RNC. He's got his, in large part so that he can extract money from it to pay for his legal fees and things like that. But, the question, will the Republican Party survive intact? And Liz Cheney was asked about this over the weekend, and, who used to be the congresswoman from Wyoming. She used to be the number 3 person in the House of Representatives in the GOP. And this is what she had to say. She said, and I quote, "Whether it's organizing a new party, look, it's hard for me to see how the Republican Party, given what it has done, can make the argument convincingly or credibly that people ought to vote for Republican candidates until it really recognizes what it's done. There is certainly going to be a big shift, I think, in how our politics works. I don't know exactly what that will look like. I don't think it'll just simply be, well, the Republican Party is going to put up a whole new slate of candidates and off to the races. I think far too much has happened that's too damaging." I find this an absolutely fascinating analysis by Liz Cheney, because my position has been that the Republican Party is going to just keep on keeping on the way they did after the '64 Goldwater defeat. I mean, basically what that did is it set up the 1968 Nixon victory. And what did the Republican Party do after Goldwater went down? Nixon came out and said, "I'm the moderate. I'm the guy in the middle. I was the vice president to Dwight Eisenhower. You know me. You can trust me. We expanded unions in the United States. We expanded Social Security. We built the interstate highway system. We put America back on track. You can trust me. You can elect me." And people did in 1968. They elected Richard Nixon over Hubert Humphrey. Now, in part, it had to do with Richard Nixon also lying through his teeth, saying, "By the way, I have this secret plan to end the war in Vietnam," when in fact, LBJ had already, cut a deal with the Vietnamese, both North and South, to end the war in Vietnam. He did this in July or August of 1968, and Nixon blew it up in September as soon as he learned about it. This was supposed to be LBJ's, Hubert Humphrey's October surprise. It became Nixon's October surprise. But the bottom line is that the party basically said, okay, we had this crazy guy, Barry Goldwater, at the top of the ticket. He's gone, and his crazy stuff has gone with him. And we're going to go back to normal. And they actually won the election the next cycle around, 4 years later. I think Liz Cheney is wrong. She says, by the way, this is interesting. Liz Cheney may be going through some kind of a conversion experience here. When she gave this talk over the weekend in Wisconsin, she was at the Cap Times Idea Fest in Madison, Wisconsin. On the other side of the same town, Madison, Wisconsin, Kamala Harris was speaking at a rally. So somebody asked Liz Cheney, "Hey, you're in town with Kamala Harris. Have you talked to her?" And she said, and I quote, "I have spoken to Vice President Harris. Look, I'm going to do everything I can because I think it's so important to stay. It's so important, so stay tuned. We had a very good discussion, and I believe that she knows this coalition that's coming together to support her is such a broad one and such an unusual one." Well, yeah, that's an understatement. But my guess is that what we're going to see is the Republican Party start shedding its MAGA faction, as it were. And the question is, are they going to get rid of the MAGA billionaires? I mean, that's the one thing that could kind of hold this in place, the MAGA/libertarian billionaires, who are big funders. I mean, the MAGA movement and Trump would not even work without them. So how's this going to play out? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. But I think it's fascinating.